Welcome to the Time Chronicles. I'm Pigtail Gurl.
I'm Starfire Tor. Join us as we journey beyond the outer limits of your perception.
Beyond the illusion of mainstream reality and beyond the deception and disinformation that passes for truth.
Our podcast is about self-empowerment through ancient, modern, and even future knowledge.
It's also about service to others and saving the planet.
So join us as we reveal the hidden and forbidden secrets of the world, the multiverse, and the core matrix. It's about time.
Welcome to the Meowloween edition of the Time Chronicles podcast. If you're looking for all things spooky, you've come to the right place.
Nothing, but nothing is spookier than realizing that we live in a world of time shifts and untold numbers of coexisting timelines. The spooky meter goes up when you come face to face with that reality.
We have that time shift evidence caught on camera. You've never seen anything like this before.
So turn out the lights, watch the show, and get ready to have your concept of reality shattered.
It's our pleasure to welcome you back to this special Meowloween episode. And I know it's been a little bit of a wait between the last show and this show, but I can assure you it's going to have been worth it. We are living in extraordinary times, and I think Starfire Tor has got some amazing things to share with you tonight on the show.
Yeah, it's absolutely great to be back, but it's not that we've actually been away from the events of the world. It's that we just haven't done a podcast in a while. Certainly, I've been writing almost daily core matrix reports, and I know that you've been doing your other podcast. So we are in the thick of it.
We are.
Now, because we have something incredibly, uniquely amazing to share right now. I wrote about it in my recent core matrix report. We have a time shift caught on camera. Now, I know I discovered time shifts and timeline edits, coexisting timelines, but it's one thing to talk about it. It's one thing to show the evidence in my reports, but to actually see it, and not just see it on camera. This is a video that we're going to be showing. And it's not just that it's a video. It's a video of the sun and what's going on the sun. And everything that's going on with the sun is being interacted with by the core matrix. It's affecting timeline edits right here on Earth. And it's those timeline edits, which is our line of defense between all of the horrific things that are going on in the world and hope that we can get out of being in the wrong dominant coexisting timeline and flip ourselves back into the proper dominant coexisting timeline. That's what this all is about.
It seems like the core matrix has been jolly busy, is all I can say.
Well, it's jolly busy in a way that we can notice.
It's always very busy. Noticeable.
It's always busy. But the great thing about this is that we can document this.
Yes.
We can document it to what is going on. And that includes the core matrix, along with certain human people, teaming up to rebuild Earth's ancient lost protective force field.
Yep.
You know, this is a fantastic thing. It's up there now. It's active. It's going to be active forever. It's never coming down again. And this is going to give everybody a chance to, like I said, get ourselves back into our proper dominant coexisting timeline. This force field went down thousands and thousands of years ago during an ET versus ET conflict that affected our planet very, very badly. And when we lost this shield, what's called the dark matter aberration, the DMA, the source of all evil in the universe. I talk about this a lot. I write about it a lot, and you and I are going to do a much bigger show about it in the near future.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's just a little bit about it. This DMA, the source of all evil, it is like a cosmic vampire. And it goes around to unprotected planets and habitats, and it absorbs the energy there of people, animals, the planet itself, like a cosmic vampire. So when Earth's protective shield went down, the DMA, through certain ET that it was influencing, some humans like to call them reptilians. They don't call themselves that, but that's who they were. They were, and they are, DMA influenced. They came through and onto the planet. This is who the ETs who live here, the ET Earth Consortium, this is who they got into a fight with to keep them off of the planet because they were DMA infested. And if they could cross through the barrier, they would infest the entire planet. Well, barrier came down, when the shield came down, these reps were able to come in. The Earth was infected. Remember, this is thousands of years ago. And it began to influence humans through the DMA, all so that the DMA could feed. Everything that these influenced humans were doing was because the DMA was influencing them to do it. Okay. And this is what flipped our planet into being into the wrong coexisting timeline, the wrong dominant coexisting timeline.
But they blame Eve for this. In the Garden of Eden, it was Eve's fault, I thought.
Well, a few years ago, I wrote this paper trying to explain to people that if they really paid attention, they would notice it in the same publication that is believed by so many people. There is another woman called Lilith. And, this certain publication talks about Adam and Eve as being the first man and woman. But wait a minute. They also talk about that Adam had a first wife named Lilith. How can Eve be the first
woman
if there's Lilith? So, I mean, come on.
The story has a lot of holes in it.
It has holes in it, but it's also an important story. It's mimicked all over the planet. Not mimic, that's not the right word. It's replicated.
Emulated.
And it's not the first story. By the time you get to that particular publication, they're just picking it up from Mesopotamia, Sumeria, and other regions on the planet. They're all telling some version of the same story. And we're looking at Eden, and we're looking at things, we're looking at the Great Flood. That Great Flood is being told about in myths and lore and even religions all over the world.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
So that's important. But here we have this ET conflict. It's talked about in the Sumerian clay tablets. It's talked about by the Anasazi, the Hopi. A lot of different ancient peoples here on the planet have some sort of either genetic memory or passed down memory. It's not quite correct. They don't have it quite correct. But
in Africa, they also have a lot of these mythologies.
The Dogon tribe is one of them too, from Africa. But this ET conflict is this watershed moment on our planet, because this is when our protective shield went down. And the reps were able to come in with their filled with the DMA and infested. But I do want to make it very clear. Not all reptilians are of this ilk. members of the non-infested reps were and still are members of the ET Earth Consortium. The ET Earth Consortium are the ETs who long time ago terraformed and bioengineered planet Earth.
And at the end of that conflict and scuffle,
yeah,
the good guys were chased away and the bad ones stayed?
No. The ET Earth Consortium still lives here, but so do these reps.
So they're both here now?
They're both here now.
Right, okay.
And this conflict has never ended. It's still here.
Okay.
But the ET Earth Consortium has a ethical problem. They look at humans as their children, but they gave them up a long time ago. They do a little tweaking now and then with the genetics, but basically natural evolution was allowed to take hold. So most of what you see is a little bit of the bioengineering, then a lot of natural development.
Okay.
So because the rep ETs came in with their DMA infestation, this infected, corrupted, the planet. So the ET Earth Consortium is not going to get into a conflict with humans. I mean, it's like no contest. And they don't want to hurt their own children. So they've been in conflict with these DMA infested reps forever to protect us. It's all about protecting us. And they live here too, by the way, both like I said, the infested reps and the ET Earth Consortium, which the non-infested reps are also part of. And the ET Earth Consortium is made up of ET from a lot of different places in the cosmos. And in their way that they do their legalities of the cosmos, they had a right to be here because of the cosmic law that allowed them to be here, because some meteor or something brought their genetics to our planet. It's sort of seeded here. And then because it's their genetics, whoever's genetics it was, are allowed to come here and do what they want, basically. So that's what happened. So now the ancient shield is back up, and we're going to be all eyes on October 31st. And whatever happens is going to be made very public.
Wow. Scintillating and extraordinary times, truly, that we live in, right?
Absolutely. So the core matrix is always engaging in timeline edits. That's what it does. And these unusual time shifts and things that go on the sun are markers that we are involved in. We are experiencing these edits. So if you would show this, okay, good. This panel, it shows, these are two panels from the video that everyone is going to see in just a little bit. And basically, on the left, you're looking at a cell from this vid, and it's at hour 1400 marker. And on the right, same vid, hour 1812 time marker. So these two frames from the film are 4 hours and 12 minutes apart.
Yeah.
So now I know that you've looked at this quite a bit. What do you see here? What's so unusual about what you're looking at?
Well, straight away, it looks like one of those spot the differences that you get in the magazines. Like,
right,
exactly. Is this a spot the difference? It looks the same, but is there something slightly different? The solar flare and the filaments coming out of the sun obviously look absolutely identical.
Right.
As does the black shadowing marking, looks identical. And even the beams coming out look pretty identical. So everything coming around the sun, to me, looks identical, but I might see some slight differences around the sun there.
Right. Now, when you're looking at these two frames, you're going to see on the upper right, there's what looks like a narrow beam, a very powerful beam coming out. Those are attached magnetic filaments from the sun. And what that means is that this is never going to become a coronal mass ejection or CME. It's just going to be shining bright. Now, when this happens, beams or blobs of light usually stay there for a few days and then they fall back onto the sun. They never detach. When they detach, that's when it becomes a CME. So we're used to seeing these sort of things. On the lower left side, that's a combination CME and magnetic filaments. Mm-hmm. But as you're going to see in the video, as people are going to see, the coronal mass ejection comes out of this filament. Now, there are 6 Earth-facing sunspots right now, and at this time, there were 4.
Okay. And
this may be 1 or 2 different sunspots being active at the same time. Now, if you look at the left panel, which is at the 1400 hour, and the right panel at the 1812 hour, this coronal mass ejection should not look like this. For 4 hours and 12 minutes. It moves forward. It moves on.
Yeah.
And when you see the video.
I'm sorry. Have you got any idea kind of what speeds this energy is being expelled at?
Millions of miles an hour.
Millions of miles per hour. So if it was coming out, it would be moving, wouldn't it? Forward, outward.
Yeah. And when the people see the video, they're going to see it coming out. Yeah. They're going to see it moving. That's what's so important about the video. Why don't we go to the next panel, please?
Okay. This one looks very funky.
Oh, yeah. I had a lot of fun. Okay. This is really important when you're doing scientific research on this. I'm going to give you a little trick of mine here.
Oh, it is a spot the difference.
Yeah, this is your spot the difference. That's right. I've color coded everything. And if you'd be kind enough to, just hold this image on there for a while so that people can really look at what I've done here. Okay.
Yeah. And of course, if at any point in this show, people want to just pause it quickly to really have a good look at the images or rewind it, they can also do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are the 2 same frames from the panel just before, but on this one, I'm showing you how I know that this isn't just the same picture being used twice because there was some sort of data loss. And so they just decided to throw in some frame from before just to fill the spot. I'm going to show you how you know, because that does happen sometimes.
Oh, it does.
I'm being transparent.
Okay.
Sometimes when there is extreme data loss, they will fill in a photo. It's very obvious, but they will fill in a photo with pieces from another frame that doesn't have the same data loss. But you can always tell there's a very obvious marker in it, 2 different colors. It doesn't match quite right. You have little boxes and little circles, and it's very odd looking. But this one caught my attention. Well, first of all, I saw it first as a movie, so I immediately saw that we were having a time shift here. And of course, there were other things going on that I was reporting on, which supported this. So, and I suggest people read my core matrix reports on my, okay. So if you look at these various things that I've done here, space, outer space surrounding the sun in the 1400 panel on the left, and what's going on in space in the panel 1812 are different. They're not the same. This is either stars, meteors, or solar energetic particles that we're looking at. And they're millions of miles away from the sun.
Yeah.
Okay. So if this was the same photo being duplicated and put 4 hours and 12 minutes later in the second one, because there was a data loss, we would see the exact same photo, which means that every speck in space would be exactly the same, but they're not. And that is what tells you scientifically that this is a time shift, because the photo of 1812 here, which is the exact same image as the one in the 1400, is the exact same image because we were timeline edited, but space has been altered.
But what would be the reason behind two exact same things on the sun coming in the same day? What would it, it's not, is it editing a bit of that time of that day back in, or it's just,
well,
trying, what does it mean?
That's a real good, that's a good question. The core matrix, when it does these timeline edits, it has to do something that I call backfilling. For example, let's say that you have a favorite shirt and it's blue. And then there's a timeline, an edit, and suddenly your favorite shirt is green. And you don't even know how did that happen? You have a memory of it being blue. Now it's green. And so the core matrix has to backfill by making everything about that shirt now in the current dominant timeline to be green, but you know it's blue. So it's good. It has to backfill down to when it was manufactured, where the fibers came from, how it was dyed. It has to backfill through time. Has to go back into the newly created dominant timeline to make everything mesh so that it makes sense. But of course, we know that the core matrix makes lots of glitchy stuff, which is how I discovered it.
Yes.
And here's an example of it.
So it's like it's just taking random bits of data to backfill with. So it might just fill in a bit with a bit of data it has already.
It's not random.
No, it's very specific, is it?
It's very specific and very complicated.
It's using the energy, is it, of that particular.
The core matrix is like a hard drive. And it contains all of the software, the elements, everything to make everything. And it just streams out these new coexisting timelines when it's created in an edited version of it. So the reason why we are seeing this difference in the universe, but the sun has the same thing, is because we just happen to catch it that way.
Right.
And I kept checking back and checking back and checking back on the movie. It hasn't changed. There's been no backfilling. This has been happening more and more and more. It's like the core matrix is working so hard and fast. It's making so many changes. It just can't. It can't keep up with itself. So you have these very noticeable, I call them time shift effects. And here we have it. And it's in video and it's incredible. Okay. So I hope people have a lot of fun looking at all the changes. So you can look at all the little things that I've done in this panel and the panel before, which is unaltered. This one's altered because of the circles, but the first ones are unaltered. What you see is what you get. So can we move on to the next panel, please?
Yeah, let's do it.
Great. Okay, great. In this panel, pay attention, because this is it. This is the time shift. On the left, you see the same 1812 time marker panel, the frame. You recognize it. Everybody recognizes it. Now, 12 minutes later, the frame on the right, 1824, 12 minutes later, there's no coronal mass ejection. It's gone. All that's left.
That's impossible, right? Like
impossible.
Laws of physics, that would be impossible.
Right. It would take few hours, maybe, for all of that to be out of the way.
Off the screen that they can film. It would take a few hours with it.
Well, it might take to be off the screen, depending on how fast it's moving. It could be anywhere from maybe a couple of hours to 6 hours, depending on, I mean, if the energy is still rolling off of the CME, if it's still rolling out, it could be rolling out for a couple of days, or it could be just a quick, and we're done. But that and we're done is going to be at least a couple of hours till it's off this screen. But then there's another screen, another movie that shows the same thing happening, but on a wider frame, a wider lens. So I can see it millions and millions and millions of miles farther out from the sun. So I can know just how expansive this CME is. And this is a very, very expansive CME. Okay.
Right.
So basically in 12 minutes, this CME cannot just vanish. It cannot, except if you have a timeline edit, then of course it's gone. Now, when our viewers look at the video, which they're going to see momentarily, they're going to notice that this frame 1824 is almost identical to the very first 0000 frame of the day. It reset back to the original, except the 1824 is slightly diminished. They'll see. So they're going to watch this and they're going to see with their own eyes. And you take it over now.
Get ready for the spooky and mysterious case of the disappearing CME.
What Pigtail Gurl is going to do for you all, first, she's going to run the video at the regular speed. Then she's going to do that maybe a couple of times or so. Then she's going to slow the movie down so that you don't miss a thing. Now that I've explained everything you're going to be looking for and looking at, I'm going to turn it over to Pigtail Gurl to make the magic happen.
Okay, so get ready for this spooky, spectacular, time-shifting, disappearing CME in normal speed at first. Here we go. And now I'm going to roll it for you guys in slow-mo. Get ready for it. Oh, wow. That was just absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, please, if that isn't time shift events occurring right there on the camera, I don't know what it is. I'm going to eat my hat.
Right. Now, I also want to mention that in some of our previous shows, we have showed other time shifts caught on camera. So please go through our other shows. You can tell which are the ones just by the title of the show. You will be so amazed. So amazed. Because when I see these things, I'm still amazed even after all these years.
Yeah, because it's mind-blowing, because what you're seeing is literally everything you think you know about physics, about the way the world works. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense. It's a glitch.
No, I mean,
reality. So
the core matrix has an assimilation program that when it does these time shifts in people's brains, because people's brains are the interface to the core matrix, people believe that we only live in one single timeline that moves from the past to the present and into the future. And that's not true. We coexist in coexisting timelines at the same time, as long as we're alive in those various coexisting timelines. I don't know how many timelines. It could be untold numbers. It could be 3,000, 4,000.
Have you got any feeling as to whether, what this timeline is that we're in? Because you talk about being in the wrong dominant coexisting timeline, but is there a timeline version of us where we're in the correct dominant timeline, do you think?
Well, as I said, thousands of years ago, when the shield went down, because of the infestation and DMA influencing of humans, the decisions that were being made by humans, put the planet in danger. So we actually flipped ourselves out of being in the proper coexisting timeline. In other words, things that we're doing are not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. We were developing as an Earth race, even though there are lots of differences. We were still one race, one people, one planet. But once this infestation came in, and the DMA is feeding on us, the DMA feeds on the worst emotions that humans can put out. So the DMA is creating minions who will make sure that they can put humans into situations where they're creating this terrible energy that the DMA feeds on. And when you have that going for thousands of years, you can no longer sustain a proper planet, and it flips.
And it feels like on this planet, there's always just been this massive duality between paths, to the very light of the masters, like the Jedi, the very people striving to be the very light, the very service to others. And then you've always had that feeling that there was also this other polarity towards the very dark. And who could be the biggest minion of all the minions and claim all the minion power for themselves.
I think that you brought up something very important about the awareness that people have between the light and the dark forces. And I think it's a perfect segue to go into our next panel. It's called the Dark Matter Aberration, Dark Sorcery.
Spooky.
It's spooky, and this is one of those hidden secrets of this world. I know I've introduced a lot over the decades, actually. And this is one of them that I've been talking about for a long time, but not so much about the dark sorcery, a lot about the dark matter aberration. But I've recently been talking about the dark sorcery, particularly in my core matrix reports, and now here, because what people don't know is that the DMA influenced human minions, the ones who do whatever they can to provide energy, human and animal and planetary sourced energy for the DMA to feed on, is actually under the control and supervision of something called dark sorcerers. They're very ancient. There aren't that many of them. They were human at one time. I'm not quite sure how to categorize them these days, but they are filled with the energy of the dark matter aberration of DMA. They function as living DMA. In other words, they have some sort of humanoid form. I'm just not quite sure what it is.
Sith Lord. I just have Sith Lord springing to my mind.
Well, I know that there are a lot of science fiction.
Yes.
The elements you can think of, but let me assure you, and this is very important that people understand this, dark sorcerers are nothing that any human has ever realized, thought about, or imagined.
And are they living extended lifespans? Are they having a normal human lifespan, or do they go over eras?
Thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
Yeah.
Right. And these would have been human, you said at first, not an alien or ET, but human.
No, human, right, because this is the DMA working through the reps, infesting. And there are certain type of human back then. Remember, this is thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. Okay. This is not modern day, but the DMA knows how to locate humans with certain types of minds, brains, emotions, who can be subjugated, who can be enthralled.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them were great manifestors. Humans have a natural ability to manifest.
Yes.
So I know you know that well. So these original manifestors who were working, with the planet, for the people, were turned.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have to say that they were overwhelmed. I can't really say that they were making personal choices. I think by the time that you're hit with that sort of possession, and it is a type of possession, you are no longer your own boss. So a dark sorcerer is not a magician, not of the light, the gray, the white, the dark, not black magic, none of that. None of that can touch it. You're not that. This is a hidden group of sorcerers who are manifestors. And what they manifest, they do for the DMA. Mm-hmm. So if some DMA human minion, just your regular human DMA minion, it has some plan of operation going somewhere on the planet, which is going to feed the DMA, the dark sorcerers will put their energy into it. And these human minions, I'm going to say, they worship this dark sorcery. They don't even know that the dark sorcerers are there. They just think they're worshiping a dark form, a dark force. They don't really conceive of it past the level that they're capable of perceiving. They have no awareness, just like they have no awareness of the dark matter aberration. They have no awareness of dark matter aberration, dark sorcery. So we're just almost up to what I call Meowloween, October 31st. And there's something very interesting going on in the world right now. I think all eyes are on it. And the DMA dark sorcery mechanism is wanting very much to see a certain plan through. And they created that deadline of October 31st. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a reason why that date was chosen. You see, a lot of people around the world look to October 31st as a day of magic. Whatever magic they perform or they believe in, or even, getting into a costume and not even realize that you're doing something. Mm-hmm. Any energy, whether it's dark magic, gray magic, white magic, whatever you're doing, you're actually feeding. You're putting a lot of human manifestation, whether it's good, in the middle, the bad, whatever, it's being absorbed by dark sorcery. And so unintentionally, mostly unintentionally, humans are acting as a battery charger for this really not healthy thing to happen on or by the 31st. So this time shift thing that we saw is really part of a larger thing that the core matrix, in cooperation with certain humans, are doing to build this ancient lost protective shield, to rebuild it, to diminish, in other words, to cut off the dark sorcerers from the DMA.
Yes.
And if this is successful, it's a challenge, believe me, it's a challenge. But I think there's every chance in the world they can make it happen. It can be successful, that what the DMA wanted to have happen on the 31st simply will not come to pass.
Mm-hmm.
That is what we're looking for. So we're going to know right away.
So actually, I would like to ask you, is this kind of sorcery that you're talking about, is it often done around Meowloween, or is it only this Meowloween would be?
Dark sorcery exists all the time. It is the controller of all the darkness on the planet.
Mm-hmm. And the people that were taken over by it originally, did they agree to be taken over by it, or was it done to them?
Well, the dark matter aberration is an old hand at influencing.
Right. So it gradually influences them into accepting it.
Well, it is a manner of possession.
Right.
So there comes a point where the dark matter aberration knows how to, win people over. Evil often comes in the form of something very beautiful, very desirable.
Yes.
Promising all sorts of wonderful, bounteous gifts. But in reality, evil has no intention of fulfilling that. It's just the come on. It's the clickbait.
Yes. Indeed.
And it is the clickbait. And by the time that humans, get fooled, get scammed by evil, it doesn't matter whether that evil is in your place of business, in your family, with a stranger, a big corporation, some rulership in the world. Doesn't matter. Once you get pulled in by that clickbait, and clickbait can work on it, it doesn't matter who you are, what you're going for, you are subject to getting pulled in down the rabbit hole, thrown off a cliff that you're running off by yourself with a whole crowd. Either way, the dark matter aberration knows humans.
Yeah, and with
with
this barrier that's being reconstructed, this protective force field, the shield. If it's successful, I mean,
it has already been successful.
So what I'm trying to say is, by cutting off the dark sorcerers from this DMA energy, what would then happen to the sorcerer? Would they go back to being human? Or
I don't know all things, but I can tell you that by cutting off everybody on the planet from fresh DMA influx, in other words, there's still going to be an infestation on the planet. Okay. But when you stop more of it from coming in, then the power of the DMA begins to diminish.
Right.
It cannot continue to sustain itself, just as being in the wrong dominant coexisting timeline is unsustainable because it leads to the destruction of the planet. In other words, there are no winners. The only winner is the DMA. It just moves on to someplace else. So, no matter what people believe in what anybody says or does, or what's good for this person, not good for that person, whatever, everybody loses if you lose the planet.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
That's just a fact. So the shield, the ancient lost shield, has gone back up, not to influence people on how to think or what to do, but to give them a chance to do it without the severe influencing of the DMA.
Yeah.
Now, you asked, what will happen to the dark sorcerers? I have no idea. I don't know. They're very, very dangerous to the planet, and they are all consumed by the DMA. The DMA cannot be healed. So I would assume that as long as the DMA remains within the sorcerers, that would be their situation. I just don't know. But I think it's very dangerous to...
because if your immortality or something is linked into a force that you're feeding yourself from, then if that force is taken away from you, I'd imagine that would have ramifications
Well, you could sort of intellectually puzzle out some of it if you know enough about this art, which I do, that with the, it's like if your food source is being cut off and you have to rely on just what you have stored in your body. If you're very fat, if you have a lot of fat, well, you're going to live a little longer than somebody who doesn't, because you're going to feed off your fat. I would say that the dark sorcerers are just going to, they're going to want to feed more on human energy. That's what they've been living off of. So, humans, though, are going to get stronger. They're going to grow wise to this. And with the force field back up, humans are going to have an opportunity to say no and do something about it. The thing that evil does, the reason why evil has lasted so long, besides everything else, is because most people just don't believe it exists, except in some sort of spiritual or religious form.
Yeah.
But people make excuses for things like evil is a concept. There is no such thing as actual evil. Only humans can do evil. No, that's not correct. In order to defeat something, you have to know that it exists first. I mean, how are you going to learn how not to drown if you don't even know that water exists?
Right. Yeah.
You have to know that water exists, and you have to learn how to swim. You have to learn these things because evil hides in plain sight. And evil also hides in the darkness of people's amnesia. They don't know it's there, but now they do. So, I have high hopes for the activities that are taking place, bringing awareness to the planet. And how do you feel about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have been feeling pretty hopeful. Whenever I see that there's a lot of action going on between humans and the core matrix, it makes me hopeful. It makes me
that
feel
was really
like
amazing. I've never seen that before.
The change. We can bring the change.
Well-intentioned people, they're everywhere. Millions and millions and millions of well-intentioned people are everywhere. No matter what they believe, in their minds and their hearts, they are well-intentioned. They believe sincerely in it. But there's a lot of humans around who are tugging people this way and that way, promising them this and promising them that, and coming up with a lot of what I call bog, that stuff you don't want that ends up hurting you. Bog is that stuff that gets onto your hard drive. You don't want it. You don't even know it's there, and it's messing up your hard drive, messing up your computer, messing up your life. Well, the DMA throws out bog too. And the infestation of the DMA on the planet is what I call DMA bog. And so this core matrix human partnership here is going to help, not only going to help, it has already helped in revealing and cleaning out some DMA bog. And the core matrix ran a bellwether test on this not too far back, and it proved to be successful. So we know that the shield is working. Again, the shield is not there to tell people what to think or what to do. That is not what the core matrix does. It never has. It just doesn't want to lose the planet completely. And that's its core matrix prime directive. Don't lose the planet. So that's what's happening now. So now everybody knows about the dark matter aberration, dark sorcery. And awareness is giving everybody a chance.
Thank goodness. Well, I hope everyone has a very spooky Meowloween, but spooky in the right way.
In the right way.
In the right way. In the fun kind of spooky.
Yeah, I want everyone to take care when they're doing their magic or manifestation work very shortly. that they keep in mind everything we've talked about here. Protect yourself. And for goodness sake, do not try to use your energy to sway the world one way or the other, or to sway groups of people or individual people one way or the other. Don't try to hurt people. Don't try to advance people. You can heal people, but let's get beyond that as a planet, and let's fix what's happening on the planet physically, and then bring your spirit into that, bring your soul into that. Don't think that you're going to ascend somewhere and leave it all behind. That's never going to happen on planet Earth. You are here to be physical, because physical things need to be repaired. You repair those physical things, then we'll talk.
Wow, Starfire, you never cease to blow my mind with these amazing gems of information that you managed to put together in the way that only you know how.
Well, I love doing the show. I love doing the show with you.
Oh, thank you. And I just want to wish everyone a happy and safe Meowloween, and I hope you really enjoyed seeing this evidence that we presented here today, and that you'll have a little think about what we've spoken about in this show, and also know that there's still so much more information that Starfire and I are preparing for an upcoming show that you're going to have to be a little bit patient for, because there's just so much that has to go into this next report, because it really is a monumental time, and we don't want to miss out any of the juicy bits for you. We don't want to come half-baked. We've got to get the show fully baked, and that's going to be coming up soon, isn't it, Starfire?
We love doing this show, and we work really hard in research and production and every day to keep track of what's going on. Most of all, I want to say, happy Meowloween.
Meow. Thank you for watching our podcast. Please share it far and wide, and of course, subscribe to our channel.
If you would like to support our unique work, please consider donating to our fundraiser right now. Every dollar goes toward the research and the production that makes this podcast possible.
Go here to donate. Just click on the link on our channel banner or on any podcast page in the description section. www.gofundme.com/f/the Time Chronicles podcast.